Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 14 in Evaluation in Human Resource Development. My name is Dr. Oliver Crocco, and today I'm broadcasting to you from my home office in Baton Rouge. Week 14 is a bit of a special week. I've decided to bring in a very accomplished LHRD practitioner who I think can provide a different perspective to you on this week's content. I've asked her to present some slides based on her vast experience, and I think you'll find it a very engaging and useful week in terms of your learning of evaluation in HRD. I'd like to introduce our guest lecturer today. Her name is Karma Israelsen, and she is the founder and CEO of a leadership consulting company called Pro Tempore Leadership Group. This is from the website. Pro Tempore Leadership Group exists to provide experienced, capable, and knowledgeable executive leadership guidance and support to organizations and their boards of directors during periods of C-suite transition. We believe in the ability of organizations to successfully navigate through transitions, utilizing our strategic expertise to serve as integral thought partners and advocates who provide tactical solutions for organizations facing transitions in leadership or strategic direction. Karma has also worked a lot in a variety of organizations. Most recently, she served as the interim COO of KIPP Memphis Collegiate Schools. For those of you who aren't familiar, KIPP is a charter school group, and they have a bunch of schools all over the country. She's also worked as the interim president and CEO of Howard Brown Health Center in Chicago. And recently, Karma completed her master's degree in organizational leadership and learning from the George Washington University. So without further ado, I give you week 14.
Hello, and welcome to week 14. My name is Karma Israelsen, and I'm thrilled that Dr. Crocco asked me to speak about the tyranny of metrics and future trends in HRD. During today's brief video, I'll cover common pitfalls in data evaluation, the importance of understanding and defining return on investment, or ROI, as well as what I view to be some of the important and future trends in HRD. In this week's readings, Mueller highlights several key and important points about how data can be interpreted, misconstrued, or even misinterpreted in order to tell a compelling story that fits a particular narrative or viewpoint. Data does, and of course should, play a primary role in organizational decision-making. However, evaluators must consider and account for the fact that it is people, after all, who make up organizations. This reality means there's inherent complexity in how data is interpreted and ultimately applied within the context of organizational goals. As I'm sure you've learned so far, evaluation requires looking at data from both a holistic and integrated perspective, while also considering that internal and external environmental factors will exist. There can be known and unknown political pressures, as well as possibly conflicting motivations between leaders and followers. Finally, as with any organization, there are important financial considerations to take into account, particularly when you start talking about return of investment of a particular program or intervention. While all these factors are vital in effective evaluation, it's equally important to exercise, as Mueller highlights, good judgment, which requires challenging the status quo and engaging others in discussions about the story behind the data. Oftentimes, those who are requesting information or evaluation on performance metrics or outcomes are far removed from the day-to-day work that informs those metrics. So understanding if the requested metrics are relevant or even necessary is an important component in ensuring the story being told through the evaluation is appropriate and accurate. In my experience, effective evaluators must understand how to study and determine the financial impact or return of investment on a particular program or intervention. In any organization, there will be competition for resources, and this reality means that leaders must make decisions about what programs, products, or services receive these resources and when investment is required. Unfortunately, as time goes by, the market and the environment evolves or changes, therefore making it critical to evaluate and assess if the program or product is continuing to have the same ROI or if it needs to be modified or even ended because it's no longer having the same level of impact or the same return on investment. In my experience working in nonprofits, there's several examples of how this phenomenon plays out in organizations with long-running programs or program offerings. For example, programs may continue to receive funding even though they have a diminishing or negative return on investment. Oftentimes, this reality is overlooked because of a passionate commitment to the program or a strong desire to do good within the local community. However, not fully understanding the impact of ROI means that well-meaning programs and leaders are often not financially sustainable. Given that many nonprofits are heavily reliant on program funding, it can be counterintuitive to say no to funding or even to end a program that's not financially sustainable. For evaluators, this scenario highlights the importance of needing to assess both programmatic outcomes as well as the financial return on investments to ensure a complete and holistic evaluation process. Oftentimes, walking away from a program or ending it, even though it's unpopular, could lead to a better outcome and financial sustainability for the organization. Now let's shift topics a bit and talk about what I view as just some of the trends in HRD. In March 2018, Deloitte published their annual 2018 Global Human Capital Trends report that highlighted several trends that leaders and evaluators should pay attention to in the future. The authors of this article note, quote, organizations are no longer assessed based only on traditional metrics such as financial performance or even the quality of their products and services. Rather, organizations today are increasingly judged on the basis of their relationship with their workers, their customers, and their communities, as well as their impact on societies at large, transforming them from business enterprises into social enterprises. End of quote. This is certainly the case in both the philanthropic and corporate giving communities, where new and existing mega donors, such as Bill Gates or the Clinton Foundation, are looking to support organizations that go beyond simply providing goods and services, and also looking at their impact and their ability to achieve a greater social impact within the communities they serve. This shift requires that both evaluators and business professionals explore and understand impact on a much larger scale so that they're able to critically assess complex relationships and data points that will need to evidence both impact as well as effectiveness. Additionally, changes in the workforce demographics will require organizations, evaluators, and institutions of higher learning to evolve their evaluative methods as culture, values, and workplace norms shift. For example, what was once important to baby boomers and the Gen X generation will be very different than what's important to the millennials, the iGens, or Gen Zs. Certainly, you could argue that while the methodologies of evaluation remain the same, and there will always be certain functions in HR that will continue, it's likely that the subsequent perception of value add and the impact will shift as the internal and external business environment continues to evolve. Finally, as Hatchery, Newcomer, and Woolley suggest, new technology is, quote, likely to add to the richness of data available and the increase in ability to process large amounts of data in a practical way, end of quote. In June 2018, Forbes reported on the rapidly increasing trend of using AI, or artificial intelligence, in human resource development, particularly in those areas that are considered administratively burdensome, such as resume screening or conducting initial interviews. This perspective is further supported by a 2017 study conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers, noting that, quote, 40% of the HR functions at international companies are currently using AI applications. End of quote. Not only will teams and organizations continue to see huge gains in efficiencies through AI and machine learning, but it will generate substantive data sets that can be analyzed and translated into information that can be immensely beneficial to evaluators and their clients. The depth and breadth of this data will no longer be available to large multinational corporations, but increasingly more available to small public and private organizations, making this an exciting time for human resources and evaluators to get ahead of the rapidly growing shift in how human resources will be asked to perform their work in the future. As I'm sure you've learned throughout this course, effective evaluation is art and science, and a discipline that will continue to evolve, particularly as organizations and HRD professionals move to machine learning and the integration of AI into their respective functions. Evaluators will need to learn how to find and make meaning in immense data sets, while also being able to identify and distinguish the trends that are most relevant to leaders and key stakeholders. At its core, effective evaluation is about understanding the key question to be evaluated or addressed, and then applying the methods and processes that are going to be most effective for getting the answer to that question. As entrepreneur and business owner Heidi Zak notes, quote, "You can't replicate data. If every part of your business, if you use it in every part of your business, you just get smarter faster, and it makes it much harder for other people to catch up." End of quote. I look forward to hearing you on your discussion board posts this week, and thank you for your time.